Good morning and welcome to my daily devotional as I walk through the parables. Normally, when I begin my walk, it's pretty dark outside. The sun hasn't come up, just like it is now. I wish it was always beautiful. I love walking through the parks. I love being in the high Sierra, seeing the waterfalls, the beautiful scenery. But the reality is life isn't always like that. And our parable today reminds me of that. It's the parable of the price for the pearl. On my daily walks and my devotional time and worship, I find myself occasionally having to walk by a dump. Here's a recycle place that I come to quite often. I don't hang out here, but I walk through here. It's kind of an odd place, but it's not an unusual situation. The Bible speaks to us about value of a price. Here, I'm standing at a dump. It's very dark and it's a little cold. The sun will be up in a little while. But in this place that I'm at, I've seen people on occasion come out here and they've been looking for jewelry that they've unintentionally thrown out. This is a recycling dump, and people throw all of their boxes away. And of course, with things like the pandemic, a lot of people are ordering online. So man, this place is used very, very heavily. You can see all of the stuff that's out there. But when somebody loses something of great value, it's amazing what they'll do. They'll do anything. They'll come out here and they'll jump in these bins. And one time I saw a man jumping up and down. I said, "What in the world are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I made a terrible mistake. I lost my wedding ring." He would do anything to find that wedding ring. When I was finishing a 5-mile walk, I came back and he was still here and he was still looking for that wedding ring. He never, ever gave up. The Bible tells us in 1 John chapter 4, verse 9, that the manifestation of the love of God is that he sent his son. You know, God really loves you, and God really loves me. And here in this parable that we're looking at today in Matthew chapter 13, it's the story of a man that was a merchant and he was looking for a pearl. And he found a pearl and he went out and sold everything he had just to be able to own that pearl. Well, God loves you. God loves you and God loves me, and he would literally do anything for us. In fact, he has done more than we can ever possibly imagine. You know the verse, "For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, who would die on the cross for our salvation." Oh, you are so valuable to God. And I know it's really hard sometimes. In my life, I've been abandoned and I've had opportunity for situations of bitterness and hardness of heart. And it affects our self-esteem. That's that image of who we are. And sometimes we don't feel very valuable. We don't feel very loved. But I want to remind you today of how much you are loved. I want you to know how much God loves you. And when I stand here in this recycle place and I see all of this garbage that isn't worth anything, and I thank God for his amazing grace. I thank God that he loves you and that God loves me, and that we are more valuable than we can possibly even begin to imagine. How valuable are you? You're so valuable that God sent his only begotten Son. I grew up at 6427 Clara Way. My daddy spent $12,000 on a house that was 962 square feet. A small 3-bedroom house, a tract house. Doesn't seem like it's of much value. But you know, if you transported that house on the beach in Maui, well, you know what I'm saying. If you took that house and put it on Waikiki Beach, that value of that house that my dad spent $12,000 on, it would be worth millions. Well, that's kind of how it is with the pearl of great price. The value of the one that finds it and loves it. God loves you. He really, really does. Thanks for being a part of the parables, reading a parable every day. And remember, God loves you. He really, really does. And so do we.